Hey everybody, it's Dimitri with Serg Supply, and today I'm going to give you an inside look on how to install our stealth line of overhead cabinetry. It's very similar to our standard overhead cabinetry install, but I'm going to give you a closer look and a few extra details today. Okay, so we're standing in the van, and you'll notice a few odd things about the ceiling here. I already know exactly which riv nuts I'm going to use for this, and this is a low profile cabinet. Our standard overhead cabinets, full depth, I'm going to use this row. Low profile, typically just use this row in the back. I partially threaded the 2-inch screws included with your cabinet to kind of show how they mount. They're designed to pass through the cabinet, through the ceiling, into that riv nut, pull it all together. Ideally, you want riv nuts holding both on the ceiling and the walls. And one other small note to keep in mind is we like a flush fit when we mount these, and the other beams, the other screws that hold in the other rows that may not necessarily hold up your cabinet might create a bit of a spacer here. So you check out these washers here. They're about an 1/8 inch thick. That's going to create some canted geometry. So what we do is we either countersink the screws in with a larger washer, or just use a larger head screw and countersink it in so we have a nice flush surface for the cabinet to sit on. So we're going to lift this cabinet, put it in place, partially thread it, and I'm going to show you how we tighten these down. Now, this video series is not meant to be glamorous and to sell you. This is meant to be helpful. So you may notice in our same series, there's a ceiling kit installation where we see 2 factory holes that are way off from where they are usually in sprinters. We go over that in detail, but this is that same row with those off holes. And what we've done is shown exactly what we do when we run into this. We've taken a hole saw. You can use 1 inch or bigger. These are 2-inch washers, so you got quite a bit of real estate here. And we've placed a large hole in the approximate area of where that is. Now this allows us a little bit more flexibility to line this up properly and snap it in place. When you tighten everything down, it's going to come together. But the important thing in this series is to highlight what kind of problems you might run into and what to do when you run into them. So when in doubt, get a hole saw and bore it out. Now when we dry fitted this in that factory channel that came with the cabinet before we made this relief cut, this bottom hole here was completely inaccessible. But making this relief cut allowed us access to the bottom hole. Now this is clearly accessible. We can go ahead and thread our screw right here into the factory riv nut in the wall and tighten that thing down with our Phillips screwdriver and get an extra level of securing not only to the ceiling but to the wall so that this cabinet stays in place, stays sturdy, and holds your cargo when you need it to. Now we've got another riv nut here that looks like it's difficult to access. Luckily we can get to it. I've already been able to thread it, but this is a great time to make one quick point. These washers are rather large, and if you come across a case where the washer is preventing the screw from threading, what we do here in the shop, what you might be able to do at home, is to take this washer onto a belt sander and just make one flat edge, kind of like a half moon. That'll allow you to slip that washer into place, crank that thing down, make sure this thing is nice and snug. Now we want to show you how to use these cabinets, not just mount them, but be able to adjust them. So if you're getting vibration on the road, it's more than likely this slam latch. If you want to adjust it, you have to understand the physics behind how it's working. This rubber stop is grabbing the inside lip of the cabinet, and you want a nice, even set of tension constantly on that thing. So if you want a little bit more tension, you're going to screw that out, tighten down the set screw, and when you lock it, this thing's going to press firmly against the inside of the cabinet. Make sure you don't overpress it, or you may inadvertently rip the face off the cabinet trying to slam that latch in place. That covers the slam latch. Moving on, we've got our hinges here. I won't move these around too much, but I'll quickly go over the adjustments. We have a front to back adjustment here in the back. This inside adjustment will actually move the hinge left to right, and then there's a set screw here at the top that will change the height of the door. So for some reason, your doors are a little off, they're sticking out, they're kind of canted, that's how you're going to address that. The last thing we adjust on these builds are actually the gas pistons here. There are 2 screws here that will move back and forward. This will change the height of the door relative to the ceiling. So if you find your slam latch is digging into the ceiling at all, you're going to want to move this piston here forward. That's going to drop the door. If it's a little too low, it's sagging, you can move this back, tighten it right back down, and that's how you adjust all of these different features on your cabinet. So as we wrap up the overhead cabinet install, I just want to pay attention to these overhead cabinets specifically. They have 12-volt LED puck lights in them. Each of them has this bundle of wiring hanging out the back. And you will note each of these kits comes with a ballast that you just plug in, and it's ready to plug into the other lights. And there are pass-throughs behind each of these partitions for you to run these lights side to side. Now in our builds, we put them behind the walls. In your build, the world is your oyster. You can do it however you'd like. At this point, once your lighting is done, tucked away, you're all finished. So we hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, please please reach out to us. We're here to help. In any case, happy building, and thanks again for watching.